Give me matter, and I will build a world out of it. Nothing is divine but what is agreeable to reason. The great mass of people are worthy of our respect. He who would know the world must first manufacture it. I had to deny knowledge in order to make room for faith. An action, to have moral worth, must be done from duty. Man must be disciplined, for he is by nature raw and wild. Better the whole people perish than that injustice be done. Never wish to see a just cause defended with unjust means. Dare to know. Have the courage to use your own intelligence. But only he who, himself enlightened, is not afraid of shadows. Religion is the recognition of all our duties as divine commands. Every beginning is in time, and every limit of extension in space. All so-called moral interest consists simply in respect for the law. We are not rich by what we possess, but by what we can do without. By a lie, a man throws away, and as it annihilates his dignity as a man. Human beings are never to be treated as a means, but always as ends. It is certainly a bad sign of common sense to appeal to it as a witness. Our age is the age of criticism to which everything must be subjected. Experience may teach us what is, but never that it cannot be otherwise. Out of the crooked timber of humanity, no straight thing was ever made. The cultivation of reason leads humanity sooner to misery than happiness. Thoughts without content are empty. Intuitions without concepts are blind. Have the courage to use your own reason. That is the motto of enlightenment. Only the descent into the hell of self-knowledge can pave the way to godliness. Rules for happiness: something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. If justice perishes, then it is no longer worthwhile for men to live upon the earth. So act that your principle of action might safely be made a law for the whole world. One who makes himself a worm cannot complain afterwards if people step on him. New prejudices will serve as well as old ones to harness the great unthinking masses. If God should really speak to man, man could still never know that it was God speaking. There is no freedom, but everything in the world takes place entirely according to nature. The busier we are, the more acutely we feel that we live, the more conscious we are of life. Experience without theory is blind, but theory without experience is mere intellectual play. The greatest human quest is to know what one must do in order to become a human being. Simply to acquiesce in skepticism can never suffice to overcome the restlessness of reason. Settle, for sure and universally, what conduct will promote the happiness of a rational being. How then is perfection to be sought? Wherein lies our hope? In education, and in nothing else. Man desires concord, but nature knows better what is good for his species. She desires discord. The enjoyment of power inevitably corrupts the judgment of reason and perverts its liberty. What is more, we cannot do morality a worse service than by seeking to derive it from examples. We can never, even by the strictest examination, get completely behind the secret springs of action. The state of peace among men living side by side is not the natural state. The natural state is one of war. Laughter is an effect resulting from the sudden transformation of a heightened expectation into nothing. For peace to reign on earth, humans must evolve into new beings who have learned to see the whole first. The public use of one's reason must always be free, and it alone can bring about enlightenment among men. A man finds in himself a talent which, with the help of some culture, might make him a useful man in many respects. Space and time are the framework within which the mind is constrained to construct its experience of reality. Beauty presents an indeterminate concept of understanding, the sublime and indeterminate concept of reason. Deficiency in judgment is properly that which is called stupidity, and for such a failing we know no remedy. Act only according to that maxim, whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. But though all our knowledge begins with experience, it by no means follows that all arises out of experience. Things which as effects presuppose others as causes cannot be reciprocally at the same time as causes of these. The main point of enlightenment is man's release from his self-caused immaturity, primarily in matters of religion. In every department of physical science, there is only so much science, properly so called, as there is mathematics. The understanding can intuit nothing. The senses can think nothing. Only through their unison can knowledge arise. Have patience a while. Slanders are not long-lived. Truth is the child of time. Ere long she shall appear to vindicate thee. It is difficult for the isolated individual to work himself out of the immaturity which has become almost natural for him. If you still have a desire for sex after 40, it means that there is still so much life left to be lived. It is not without cause that men feel the burden of their existence, though they are themselves the cause of those burdens. All false art, all vain wisdom, lasts its time but finally destroys itself, and its highest culture is also the epoch of its decay. The history of nature begins with good, for it is God's work. The history of freedom begins with badness, for it is man's work. What might be said of things in themselves, separated from all relationships to our senses, remains for us absolutely unknown. Genius is the ability to independently arrive at and understand concepts that would normally have to be taught by another person. Innocence is indeed a glorious thing, only, on the other hand, it is very sad that it cannot well maintain itself and is easily seduced. Morality is not properly the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. He who is cruel to animals becomes hard also in his dealings with men. We can judge the heart of a man by his treatment of animals. Everything goes past like a river, and the changing taste and the various shapes of men make the whole game uncertain and delusive. Nothing can possibly be conceived in the world, or even out of it, which can be called good, without qualification, except a good will. All our knowledge begins with the senses, proceeds then to the understanding, and ends with reason. There is nothing higher than reason. A categorical imperative would be one which represented an action as objectively necessary in itself, without reference to any other purpose. Nature is beautiful because it looks like art, and art can only be called beautiful if we are conscious of it as art, while yet it looks like nature. The sacredness of religion and the authority of legislation are by many regarded as grounds of exemption from the examination of this tribunal. light dove, in free flight cutting through the air, the resistance of which it feels, could get the idea that it could do even better in airless space.